Welcome back. A judge gives more jail time to the so-called affluenza teen Ethan Couch. Attorney Yodit Twolde is here to talk about the new sentence for the now 19-year-old. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. You're a former prosecutor for the Dallas DA's office, so you can definitely put this into perspective for us. I know I posted the punishment, details of the punishment yesterday given by the judge on social media, and so many of our viewers were furious because they're hearing that the judge decided for 2 years, and people are saying, how do you explain the deaths of 4 people in a drunk driving accident, 2 seriously injured, and only 2 years in jail?
Right. And I can't blame people for being so confused by this entire thing, because when you are dealing with a juvenile and then he transfers over to an adult court, things get very convoluted and confusing. But people need to understand what double jeopardy is. You can't try somebody for the same case. He's already been adjudicated on this case in juvenile court and was given 10 years probation. So that 10 years now is being transferred over to the adult court. We can't try him over for the 4 deaths. He's got to continue on probation with a clean slate at this point. Okay,
so this ruling of 2 years is just for his probation. So anybody who would move from a juvenile to an adult court with these kind of conditions would serve some time just for their probation.
An adult period, if you were to be charged with intoxication manslaughter and found guilty and given probation, would still have to serve a mandatory minimum as a condition. So that's what's happening, and I think the judge here gave Ethan as much as he possibly could legally. So people were talking about 120 days was all he was going to get. Well, he got close to 2 years. So he did as much as he can. He wasn't even considering the violations that he might have committed, because he never actually was found guilty in a court of law of these violations.
So when you're talking about when he fled to Mexico and all of that, basically he's not going to see any charges for that.
Well, I think just as us being humans, I think the judge considered it, even though the prosecutors asked him not to. So that tells me that in 2 weeks, when these attorneys are filing their responses to his sentence, I don't think his sentence is going to change. I think he's giving him the most he can, like I said, legally, and is deserving of it. I mean, again, 4 people are dead. You can't try him again, but let's try and get as much as we can for him to be, finally accountable for what he did.
Well, on probation.
On probation. So he'll do the 2 years, and then he'll continue on probation. Now, the slightest mess up will get him back into TDC, prison.
Yeah, so basically he needs to not mess up from here on out. And if he does, you think there's very little wiggle room for him?
Very little wiggle room at this point, because he was never actually found guilty of the violations when he was a juvenile. Now he's an adult. Totally different ballgame.
Totally different ballgame.
Totally.
As far as his mom goes, I mean, yeah, that's a whole nother story. But I mean, it's been put under a gag order. We can't talk about it because of Ethan's case. What do you expect for her?
It's so unfortunate that she didn't kill 4 people, but yet she's looking at more time. And so
because she's an adult.
Because she's an adult, and she's looking at a maximum of 10 years. And so that's going to be interesting to see, especially because they're assigned the same judge. So they'll be in the same court.
Thank you so much for explaining. We appreciate it. You can see Fox 4 News at noon for the latest on this case, and also anytime on our website, fox4news.com.